Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a world you probably interact with every single day, but maybe don't think about quite like this. The global dairy ingredient market.
Right.
And look, this isn't just about, milk in a carton. We're talking about the fundamental building blocks, the stuff that goes into a huge range of modern foods.
Everything from protein shakes to baby formula, even things like baked goods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack not just how this market is growing, but what's really driving that incredible expansion. And, where are the biggest shifts happening globally? We've got some great sources to help us understand this, well, often overlooked industry.
Yeah, overlooked but crucial. And when you say incredible expansion, the numbers really back that up. I mean, we're looking at a market that pulled in, roughly $76 billion in revenue back in 2021.
76 billion, okay.
But here's the kicker that's projected to leap pretty significantly. We could be looking at $138 billion by 2033.
Wow, $138 billion.
Yeah, that's a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of over 5%. That's a really solid trajectory.
Those numbers really do paint a picture, don't they? The scale is just immense. So, okay, what's the engine here? What's driving this? Beyond just, population growth, what makes these dairy ingredients such hot commodities right now?
Well, what's really fascinating is that it's deeply consumer-led. It really boils down to this rising global demand for protein-rich foods and also functional food products.
Functional foods.
Yeah, and dairy proteins, things like whey, casein, lactose, they're absolute powerhouses in that space. They're essential in, obviously critical infant formulas for development,
Crucial there.
but also a whole array of bakery products, dairy drinks, and especially that booming nutraceutical sector.
Okay, let's pause on nutraceuticals. Can you break that
Yep.
down a bit? What kind of products are we really talking about there?
Sure. So nutraceuticals are basically foods or drinks engineered for specific health benefits beyond just basic nutrition. Think about a high protein recovery drink for athletes, or maybe a yogurt that's packed with specific probiotics for gut health, or even supplements for, say, cognitive support. Dairy ingredients are often key for both the nutrition and the texture in a lot of these newer products.
Got it. That makes sense. So it's clearly a global thing, this trend, but you mentioned the story kind of varies region by region. It's not just one big wave hitting everywhere the same way, is it?
Not at all.
Okay, so let's dig into that. Let's see where the biggest splashes are being made,
Yeah.
maybe continent by continent.
Absolutely. If you sort of zoom out, look at the big picture, you definitely see this solid upward curve across, both established economies and the emerging ones. It's truly global, but yeah, different rhythms in different places.
So which region is kind of leading the charge right now? Who holds the dominant spot in this market?
That would have to be the Asia-Pacific region. It was already huge, valued over $30 billion back in 2021.
30 billion, okay.
And it's forecast to pretty much double by 2033. We're talking nearly $57 billion.
Nearly double.
And it's not just population. It's really about this expanding middle class, changing diets, more value placed on convenience and nutrition. That often means, more packaged and fortified foods where these ingredients shine.
And within APAC, are there specific countries or sub-regions really pushing that demand?
Oh, definitely. You've got China and Japan leading in sheer consumption volume. Together, they're expected to account for over $27 billion by 2033.
Huge markets.
Right. But then you have these really interesting growth pockets. India is accelerating incredibly fast, something like 6.3% CAGR. Southeast Asia is also surging around 5.9%.
Impressive growth rates.
Yeah, and maybe most notable is the rest of APAC segment. This includes a lot of developing nations across Asia, Oceania. That part is projected to grow the fastest within the region at nearly 7.5% CAGR. That signals just huge emerging market potential.
So a powerhouse region, but with lots of dynamic growth stories inside it. Okay, moving from that rapid expansion, let's maybe shift focus to North America, a very significant, very established market. What's its story look like?
North America is still a major player, absolutely. Its market's projected to grow from around $22 billion in 2021 up to over $38 billion by 2033. That's about a 4.5% CAGR.
Still very solid growth.
It is. The U.S., of course, makes up the lion's share. Lots of dairy producers, big food companies there. But Canada and Mexico are also seeing steady growth. A lot of that is supported by demand for what we call clean label dairy ingredients and nutritional supplements. It really fits with current consumer trends.
Clean label, right? We hear that term a lot.
Mhm.
What does that actually mean when we're talking dairy ingredients? Is it just fewer ingredients or?
It's essentially that, yeah. Consumers increasingly want products with simple, recognizable ingredients. Minimal processing, no artificial additives, no complex chemical names on the label. It's this move towards transparency, towards naturalness in food. And
Exactly.
ingredient suppliers, they're definitely innovating to meet that demand.
Okay. And what about Europe? Often seen as having very advanced dairy processing infrastructure. How does Europe fit into this growth picture?
Europe's market is also quite significant. It's growing from roughly $14.4 billion in 21 to projected almost $25 billion by 2033. So that's a CAGR of about 4.5%.
Similar to North America then, roughly.
Roughly, yeah. Now, within Europe, you see some variation. Germany, the UK, Spain, they're seeing more, let's say, modest expansion. But France and Italy are actually seeing stronger growth, maybe driven by a mix of traditional dairy use and that growing interest in functional products.
Interesting.
But the fastest growth in Europe is actually coming from the rest of Europe segment. That includes many Eastern European nations. Their CAGR is projected closer to 6%.
Right, so internal dynamics there too.
Right.
Okay, we've covered the big players, some established markets. What about other parts of the world? Are there regions that maybe aren't as large in total volume yet, but are showing really incredible growth potential, like a faster rate of expansion?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at, say, South America, that market is set to basically double in size between 2021 and 2033, going from about $5 billion to over $10 billion.
Doubling, wow. What's driving that?
A lot of it seems to be rising health awareness, growing demand for fortified dairy products. Brazil is the biggest market there, projected around $3.2 billion by 2033. But you're seeing really strong growth rates in places like Argentina, almost 6.5% CGR, and Colombia too. It reflects a region really focusing more on nutrition.
Okay, interesting. And the Middle East, how does that region factor in?
The Middle East market is smaller in overall scale, but it's showing steady growth,
Yeah.
projected to go from about $2.8 billion in 21 to over $4.4 billion by 2033. So a CGR around 3.6%.
Okay.
Within that, places like the UAE and Egypt seem to be growing a bit faster, maybe around 4 point something percent. It looks like it reflects increasing demand for nutritional foods, especially among younger, more urban populations there, changing lifestyles, dietary needs.
Right, right. Okay, so we've touched on the dominant players like APAC, significant contributors like North America and Europe, and these emerging markets in South America and the Middle East showing solid growth. But there's one region that's like truly standing out as the absolute fastest growing, isn't there? This is where it gets kind of wild.
Indeed. Yeah, you saved the most dramatic for last, perhaps. Africa.
Mm.
Africa is projected to be the fastest growing region in this entire global landscape.
Really? By how much?
We're talking projected CAGR of 9.12%. That's significantly higher than any other region we've discussed.
9%, that's huge.
It is. So starting from a smaller base, around $1.4 billion in 2024, Africa's market is forecast to nearly triple, hitting over $3.6 billion by 2033.
Incredible.
And you see rapid gains across the board. Nigeria, South Africa, and the rest of Africa segment is projected even higher, around 9.5% CAGR.
What's behind that explosive growth?
It seems to be a combination of factors. Crucial improvements in dairy infrastructure, processing capacity. There are also huge unmet nutritional needs being addressed. And importantly, an expanding middle class that's increasingly able to access and afford these kinds of products.
Wow. So, okay, pulling all this together then.
Yeah.
It really sounds like there are maybe two big distinct trends happening at the same time, right?
Hmm? I think that's fair to say.
On one side, you've got established markets, North America, parts of Europe, they're focusing more on innovation, clean labels, specialized high-value ingredients.
Right. Refinement, added value.
And then on the other side, you have these incredible emerging regions, especially APAC, South America, now Africa, really driving sheer volume growth, meeting more fundamental nutritional needs, but on a massive growing scale.
That captures it perfectly. It's exactly this combination that makes the whole industry so dynamic and so globally expansive. It's constantly adapting, right? Meeting really diverse consumer needs across very different stages of economic development.
Yeah.
From, high-tech sports nutrition to basic fortified milk powder.
So the next time you, the listener, pick up a protein bar or maybe choose a specific infant formula or even just enjoy a really good pastry, just remember, it's likely underpinned by this vast, complex, and rapidly expanding global dairy ingredient market.
Yeah.
It really is so much more than just a glass of milk. It's these fundamental pieces of our modern food system. They're evolving globally at just an incredible pace.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave folks with, considering that incredible growth we're seeing in emerging economies and their focus on, foundational nutrition, how might this massive shift in global dairy ingredient demand actually shape the next generation of global health and food innovation? It's a pretty fascinating question for our collective future, isn't it? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something you probably encounter daily, but maybe don't think much about: the global market for dairy ingredients. We've got some sources that really explore its pretty rapid growth, the challenges it's facing, and some really interesting trends for the future. Our mission to sort of uncover the hidden dynamics behind everyday foods and pull out the key insights for you. It's actually quite surprising how these seemingly simple ingredients affect so many products. Definitely a rich area for us to explore. Okay, let's get into it then. What's really pushing this growth in dairy ingredients right now? What are the main drivers?
Well, what's really interesting, I think, is how it's moved beyond just, basic milk. We're seeing this huge demand for high-protein functional foods. And it's not just about bulking up, it's about creating new food textures, new experiences, taking ingredients like whey protein or casein, even milk powders. They're everywhere now: sports drinks, baby formula, specialized nutrition. They offer great nutrition, sure, easily digestible, but they also do other things. Think about how they improve texture or flavor, extend shelf life in things like baked goods, sweets, soups, sauces, even ready meals. It comes down to their properties, like emulsifying, gelling, binding. It gives food scientists so much versatility.
That totally makes sense for products, here. But you mentioned global growth, it sounds like. Where the demand is coming from is also a big part of the story.
Oh, absolutely. A massive part. If you look at the bigger picture, a lot of this new growth is actually happening in emerging markets.
Oh,
We're seeing dairy consumption really take off across the Asia-Pacific region, Latin America, the Middle East. And this isn't just slow, steady growth. It's linked to big societal changes, rapid urbanization, more disposable income, and crucially, shifts in what people are eating as these areas develop. So you have whole new groups of consumers looking for these dairy-rich products, and that in turn is spurring major investment in production and getting those products to market locally. Okay, so booming demand expanding globally,
right.
but it can't all be straightforward, right? What are the main bumps in the road, the restraints? Yeah, there are definitely significant challenges. One of the biggest is just how volatile raw milk prices are. It's really unpredictable. You've got global commodity markets swinging, weather messing with production, feed costs going up, even geopolitics playing a role. All that instability makes it incredibly hard for manufacturers to plan, and it could really squeeze their profits.
And I guess we have to talk about alternatives. Plant-based is everywhere now.
That's the other major factor, yes. The rise of plant-based options, oat, almond, soy, you name it, is definitely creating competition. You have growing awareness about things like lactose intolerance, but also concerns about animal welfare and the environmental footprint of dairy. That's driving a lot of consumers, especially maybe younger ones, who are very health and environment conscious, to look for alternatives. And then there's regulation. The food safety and quality standards globally are incredibly strict. Things like traceability, import-export rules, it all adds layers of complexity and cost, especially for sensitive products like infant formula, where there's zero tolerance for any contamination.
Right. So we have the growth drivers, these challenges. Looking ahead now, what trends are shaping the future of dairy ingredients? What should we be watching?
What's really fascinating now is this strong push towards clean label and minimal processing. Consumers increasingly want transparency. They want shorter ingredient lists, things they recognize, no artificial additives or preservatives. That's a big driver. And alongside that, you have technology really stepping up. Advanced techniques like membrane filtration, ultrafiltration. These are game changers. Think about it using superfine filters to separate out specific proteins or sugars. You can create incredibly pure ingredients tailored for specific needs, like maybe a low-lactose powder for formula, or a protein that dissolves instantly in a sports drink. That kind of precision is relatively new. And tying it all together really is sustainability. It's moving from just a nice-to-have to a core business need. This isn't just about image, it's driving real change. Producers are seriously investing in things like low-emission farming practices, using less water and processing, switching to renewable energy. We're even seeing big dairy companies partnering with tech firms to use AI for things like optimizing cattle feed to cut methane emissions. traceable supply chains, eco-labels, these are becoming standard expectations.
Wow, okay. So quite the journey we've taken. We've seen how demand for functional foods and growth in new markets are driving things forward, but also how challenges like price swings and plant-based competition are keeping things interesting. And then these huge shifts towards cleaner labels, advanced tech, and of course, sustainability shaping what comes next.
Exactly. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? It raises this important question, how this world of dairy ingredients, which sounds quite simple on the surface,
Yeah.
actually gives us this incredible window into much bigger global shifts. Shifts in health trends, ethical thinking, technological breakthroughs, all things that are fundamentally reshaping our food systems for the future.